Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're on a mission, really. It's for anyone who's ever had a great idea that just fell flat. We're tackling a core problem. Success isn't just about how good your ideas are. Our sources, they're pretty provocative. They say there's a clear order to it.
A hierarchy, yeah. And it's your ability to speak first, then your ability to write.
And only then the quality of your ideas, in that exact order.
It's a reality check for sure. So for this deep dive, we've put together an armamentarium of techniques.
An armamentarium, so like an arsenal,
Yeah,
a toolkit.
exactly. An arsenal of heuristics. These are practical tools guaranteed to get your ideas heard, accepted, maybe even land you a job.
Okay, let's unpack that. It all seems to start with this core philosophy, a formula even.
Right, the success formula. It's knowledge, or K, plus practice, P plus talent, T.
K plus P plus T. But there's a catch, isn't there?
A huge one. That T for talent, it's
Yeah.
really, really small.
So all that stuff about being a natural speaker,
It's mostly a myth. The sources are clear. You should rely on structure and repetition, not some innate gift.
there's a great story about this with the Olympic gymnast Mary Lou Retton.
Oh, it's perfect. So Retton, world-class athlete, incredible raw talent. She tries skiing.
And she's not good.
She's terrible, worse than the lecturer telling the story. And the reason why is that she was all talent, all T. The lecturer, though, he had the knowledge, the K, of how to ski, and he'd had the practice, the P.
So structure and method beat raw gifts every single time.
Every time. And that's what we're here to give you, the K and the P.
So let's get into it. The absolute foundation before you even say a word is the rule of engagement.
Eliminating distraction. It is non-negotiable. Laptops closed, phones away.
And the reason is physiological, right? It's about how the brain works.
Exactly. You only have one language processor. Just one.
Which means if I'm checking my email, I literally cannot be hearing what you're saying.
You can't. And you're not just distracting yourself. The sound of your typing, your divided attention, it distracts everyone around you.
And it hurts the speaker's performance, too. Seeing a sea of laptops.
It's devastating. It just crushes your confidence. It's a selfish act that harms the entire group.
Okay, so we've got their focus. They're looking at you. How do you start? I know the common wisdom is to, break the ice with a joke.
And that's a huge mistake. People aren't ready for it. They're still settling in, getting used to your voice. The joke lands with a thud.
So what's the alternative?
You start with what's called the empowerment promise.
The empowerment promise. That sounds very direct.
It is. It has to be. You tell the audience right up front what they will know or be able to do at the end that they couldn't do at the beginning.
You're framing it as a return on their attention.
You're telling them the value proposition immediately. It works.
Okay, promise made. Now we have to deliver. Let's get into the core heuristics. The first one is called cycling on the subject.
This is basically a defense against the wandering mind.
Yeah.
The rule is simple. You have to say important things 3 times.
Tell them what you're going to tell them. Tell them, then tell them what you told them. It sounds a little repetitive.
It is, but it's necessary. Look, at any given moment, the data suggests about 20% of your audience is just fogged out.
Thinking about lunch.
Thinking about lunch, a meeting, whatever. If you only say your key point once, you've lost 1/5 of the room. Guaranteed. Cycling is built-in redundancy for human attention.
That makes sense. Okay, heuristic 2. Building a fence around your idea.
This is all about clarity. You have to define what your idea is by also defining what it is not.
You draw a clear boundary. So if I have a new algorithm, I should compare it to the one everyone already knows.
Immediately, you'd say, this is my linear algorithm, which is different from Jones's exponential algorithm. The classic example is defining an arch. You show an arch.
And then you show something that's almost an arch but isn't. A near miss.
Exactly. That fence stops people from putting your new idea in the wrong mental box.
So to keep people on track inside that fence, we get to heuristic number 3. Verbal punctuation.
This is just about giving people landmarks. It's how they can, get back on the bus if their mind has wandered.
So it's more than just saying next slide.
So much more. The best way is just simple enumeration. You say, I have 4 points to make. And then you say, okay, that was point 1, now for point 2.
It's a constant reorientation. People always know where they are in the structure.
Right. And if you need to really pull them back in, you use the 4th heuristic, asking carefully chosen questions.
But this is where speakers get terrified. The silence, the dead air.
Yeah, the fear is real, but there's a number. The standard amount of time you can wait for an answer is 7 seconds.
7 seconds. That must feel like an eternity when you're up there.
It feels endless.
Yeah.
But you have to hold that pause. And the question has to be just right. Not too easy, that's insulting, but not so hard that nobody can answer. It has to make them think.
So we have the words, the structure. But what about the environment itself, the logistics of time and place?
Oh, this is critical. The optimal time is 11 a.m.
11 a.m., why so specific?
Most people are fully awake, they're not tired yet, and it's before that post-lunch slump. It's peak cognitive function for most of the room.
And the room itself, it has to be bright.
Super bright. Dimly lit rooms send a signal to our lizard brain. Time to sleep.
I love the line from the source material. It's extremely hard to see slides through closed eyelids.
It's the perfect comeback. And you have to prepare that room. You case the place like a bank robber.
You check for weirdnesses?
Any weirdness. The cables, the lighting, the screen. You neutralize all surprises beforehand so you can focus completely on the content.
Which brings us to our tools. The whiteboard versus the slide deck. And the sources are very clear on this.
For teaching, for informing, the board is the right tool, hands down.
And it's because of something called the speed property.
The speed property, it's crucial. The speed at which you can write on a board is almost perfectly matched to the speed at which an audience can absorb the information.
Whereas with slides, you can just click through 10 complex ideas in a minute.
And you just overwhelm that single language processor we talk about. The board forces a perfect pace. It also gives you a target for your hands, which keeps your body language open and engaged.
That physical engagement.
Yeah.
That leads us to a really deep idea. The power of props and embodied learning.
Yes. Playwrights know this instinctively. A physical object can anchor a memory like nothing else. Think about Henrik Ibsen's play, Hedda Gabler.
The pot-bellied stove.
That stove is always there, getting hotter and hotter as the tension rises. And when the precious manuscript is finally thrown into it, that memory is burned into you. The prop makes it real.
And we see this in a technical context, too, with Seymour Papert's bicycle wheel demonstration.
A brilliant example. He'd ask engineers to predict the direction of torque. It's a hard problem. They get it wrong half the time.
Because the rules are abstract.
Totally. So what Papert did was he put a little piece of duct tape on the wheel, and he said, just focus on the tape. Think about how the force affects that one single point.
And suddenly the problem becomes obvious.
Instantly. The prop forces you to think about the problem in the right way. It makes the abstract tangible.
And then there's the ultimate prop demonstration. Alan Lazarus and the pendulum.
That is pure conviction. He holds this heavy steel pendulum ball to his nose, lets it go, and just stands there, trusting in the conservation of energy.
Trusting it won't.
Yeah,
No.
that can smash his face.
And it doesn't. It just gently kisses his nose. But don't try it. The urge to give it that tiny little push is almost impossible to resist.
So why do these physical things boards, props, work so much better than slides?
It comes down to a concept called empathetic mirroring. When you watch me write on a board, your brain's mirror neurons fire. You aren't just seeing it, you're internally feeling the motion of writing.
So my brain is sort of rehearsing the action, which makes the memory stick.
That's the idea. It's an embodied experience. You can't get that from a static slide. That's why slides are not for teaching, they're for exposing.
Exposing, not teaching. So what's their job? They're great for presenting results, data, quick summary, things you do in a job talk or a conference.
So if we have to use them, let's talk about the slide crimes we need to avoid.
The ones that are always true. Too many slides and way too many words. And the number one crime is reading your slides out loud.
People can read faster than you can talk. It's just annoying.
It is. And then there's the speaker's location. Don't stand way off to the side. It creates this tennis match feeling, with the audience's heads whipping back and forth between you and the screen.
Slides should be condiments, not the main course.
That's the perfect way to put it. The fix is to simplify. Mercilessly. Get rid of the logos, the junk in the background. Tell people the title. Don't waste space on it.
Because if the slide is too dense, you force people to choose. Read the slide or listen to you.
And they will always choose to read. There's an experiment that proved this. People remembered what was on the slide much better than what the speaker said. One person's feedback was, I wish you hadn't talked so much, it was distracting.
Wow. That's a gut punch. So technically, what do? Font size.
Big. Minimum 40 or 50 point font. If it doesn't fit, it's too much for one slide. And for God's sake, kill the laser pointer.
Why? Everyone uses them.
Because it makes you turn your back on the audience. You break the connection. The sources say, we could all leave and he wouldn't know.
So what's the solution?
Just build an arrow right into the slide. You can point with your mouse and never break eye contact.
Now, there is one exception to the simplicity rule. a very specific one.
The hapax legomenon.
Which means?
A word, or in this case a slide, used only once. This is the one slide you're allowed to make intentionally overwhelmingly complex.
Why would you ever do that?
To make a point about complexity itself. You show, for example, a ridiculously dense chart of how to govern Afghanistan. The point isn't to be understood, it's to make the audience feel the complexity, but you can only do it once.
Because if you do it twice, they just assume the whole talk is going to be impossible and they check out.
Exactly. It's a controlled shock, followed by a return to clarity.
So let's talk about some specific contexts. How do you inspire people?
Inspiration comes from 3 places. You tell them you can do it, you show them a problem in a completely new way, or you show genuine, undeniable passion.
That passion is key. You can't fake it.
You can't. The example of the resource allocation problem is perfect. It's super technical coloring, a map of the U.S. You show the standard program would take longer than the life of the sun to run.
An impossible problem.
Then you show a tiny, brilliant change to the algorithm, and it solves it in seconds. And the speaker's genuine reaction is just, isn't that cool? That's what inspiration feels like, that awe.
Okay, highest stakes imaginable. The job talk. There's a rule for this. The 5-minute rule.
Yes. This comes from people who hire for a living, like on the Navy Science Board. They say a candidate has 5 minutes to establish 2 things. If you fail, you're done.
And what are those 2 things?
First, vision. You have to frame a problem somebody actually cares about and propose a new way of looking at it. Second, you have to prove you've done something.
You show your work.
You lay out the steps to solve the big problem and show exactly where your work fits in. Vision and execution in 5 minutes.
So once you have the job, how do you get your ideas recognized? You can't let them go into the world in rags.
You have to package them. This is where Winston's star comes in, the 5 S's.
Okay, let's break them down. We can use the arch example. The first S is symbol.
The symbol is the arch itself, the logo, the visual shorthand.
Second is the slogan.
One-shot learning, the catchy phrase people can repeat.
Third, surprise.
The surprise is that you can learn from just one example. It grabs attention because it goes against what people expect.
Fourth is the salient idea.
This is the real intellectual meat, the idea of the near miss. That's the concept that gives it power.
And the 5th S ties it all together.
The story, how you did it, why it matters. Without the story, the other 4 are just pieces. The story makes it whole.
That is a powerful framework. So that brings us to the very end. How to stop. The final impression.
The final slide is critical, the one that's up during Q&A. It must say one thing: contributions.
Not questions or a list of your collaborators.
Never collaborators. That dilutes your impact. Put them on the first slide to establish credibility. The final slide is about your contribution.
And the final words. Don't just say thank you.
No, it's weak. It implies they only stayed out of politeness.
So what's a better way to end?
Well, you can finish with a great joke. At that point, the audience is warmed up. They'll leave thinking they had a good time the whole way through.
Or for something more formal.
You offer a salute to the audience. You thank them for their sharp questions, for the great discussion. You validate their contribution.
So to bring it all home for you, what you've just heard is the K and the P. The knowledge and the practice to get your ideas heard, moving beyond that tiny T for talent.
What makes us human is our ability to build stories. And your professional life is a story. Every one of these heuristics is a tool to make that story more compelling.
So here's our final thought for you. The next time you see a great speaker, don't just listen to the content. Analyze their technique, watch for the heuristics, and ask yourself, what single new tool from this deep dive will you put into your own story this week? Dive deep. We'll catch you next time.